its best. Where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 6:15 p.m. and exclusively on our 95.5 FM.
And broadcast live on the Ion Dependency Facebook page.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to our Dependency. I say, buenas tardes, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to our Dependency. Could you say that in Spanish, please?
Buenas tardes, Trinidad y Tobago. Bienvenido a Ion Dependency.
Natasha, good evening.
Buenas tardes a Trinidad y Tobago y bienvenido a Ion Dependency.
God, Natasha. Will you give me a break here this afternoon? Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, our listeners, to those in studio, to all of those who have tuned in here this evening for this important opportunity for me to share some words through Ion Dependency. And God, Natasha, it's indeed a pleasure to be back here. It's been a while. So thank you all very much, and remind me of your name.
Aracelys,
who has been very helpful on our previous encounters here when we've been dealing with the Venezuelan migrant issues.
Yes. So, Minister, you're here again, and it's time to do the what Trinidad and Tobago had promised to do, of course, through the Ministry of National Security for the Venezuelan nationals here. What's the plan to get started?
All right, well, thank you all. As you all know, back in 2019, the government of Trinidad and Tobago took an unprecedented step, but a humanitarian step, and we went out there and we said, all Venezuelans who are here in Trinidad and Tobago, please, whether you came in legally, you came in illegally, this is an opportunity. And we had about a 2-week period where we undertook to register all of the Venezuelans here and to provide them with an opportunity through that to legalize their status here on a temporary basis. And as you know, that exercise went and it happened, and at the end of it there were certain conditionalities that we would do some due diligence, etc. But basically those who were registered in that session back in 2019, just over 16,500 persons, you would then have the opportunity to work and live in Trinidad. And, it was done to legalize their status, allow them to work, hopefully not be exploited, unfortunately. And that exercise went quite well. It was unprecedented in the region, and we continued with it. And then, as we had promised, we looked at it at the end of a 6-month period. We granted a further 6-month period to those Venezuelans. But that time has come and gone now. And here we are in 2021. The Prime Minister had announced just before the end of 2020 that we were going to have a re-registration exercise. And what we will be doing, well, what the Prime Minister announced is the government had taken a decision, or would take a decision, that all who had registered would be allowed the opportunity now for a further extension. They had gotten 1 year for a further extension than that. And in came National Security now to conduct this and to carry out a re-registration exercise. So I'm here today. I just realized that we have to do the way you are looking at me. Sorry, that the National Security is now ready to talk about the re-registration exercise. So my apologies, please.
Muy buenas tardes. Tenemos el Ministro de Seguridad Nacional, el señor Stuart Young, hablando y recordándonos que el 2019 el gobierno de Trinidad y Tobago tomó unos pasos sin precedente cuando permitieron a los venezolanos que estuvieran en Trinidad y Tobago de manera legal o ilegal, pudieran registrarse durante un periodo de 2 semanas, cualquier venezolano que estuviera aquí. Ya ese periodo ha venido y terminó. Los que estaban aquí se registraron más de 16.500 venezolanos que se les permitió trabajar aquí. con la esperanza que no fueran explotados. Sin embargo, ya sabemos cómo es eso, pero como prometimos, le dimos 6 meses, hubo una extensión de 6 meses más, y ahora, bueno, ya estamos aquí en 2021, donde el primer ministro había recordado que iba a haber un registro de nuevo para los que ya estaban registrados, y el gobierno ha tomado la decisión de hacerlo, y pues ahí estamos, el Ministerio de Seguridad Nacional, que ahora se va a involucrar en esto.
Thank you very much. So, I am going to be I went to Cabinet and I got the approval to have a re-registration process. And what I've been doing through National Security, working along with immigration, is working out the logistics of how we're going to carry out this re-registration process.
Entonces fui al gabinete para poder conseguir la aprobación para que pudieran registrarse de nuevo, junto con la asistencia y el apoyo de la inmigración.
And the first thing I'd like to emphasize is this is a re-registration. So we are not opening up the ambit, we're not opening it up for those who had not registered before in 2019 to come forward and register now. As we've said, Venezuelans, migrants who are not registered, who are not falling under this process, continue to be bound by the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. But what I'm here today to talk about is the re-registration process we're about to embark upon.
Entonces, lo primero que debo dejar muy claro es que esto no es un registro nuevo, es una oportunidad con los que ya fueron registrados se vuelvan a registrar, los que se registraron en el 2019. Todos los venezolanos migrantes que se registraron en 2019 tienen la oportunidad de volverse a registrar de nuevo. Esto significa que los que no están registrados están entonces bajo la ley de Trinidad y Tobago.
So, probably in about a week's time, I am aiming to start this process on the 8th of March, and it will continue for 3 weeks until the 26th of March. So from the 8th of March to the 26th of March will be the re-registration exercise, and I'll give you the details as to how this will take place.
Entonces, probablemente dentro de una semana más o menos ya daré los detalles. O sea, desde el 8 de marzo al 26 de marzo, aproximadamente como 3 semanas, será el proceso de registro nuevo, y ahora vendré con los detalles.
Everyone who was registered before, even those who did not collect their cards for one reason or another, you are in our database. There were a number of persons who we had to reject out of the database. They may have had criminal records or other incorrect, false declarations in their forms, but that was a handful of persons. So, persons who were registered previously, this is how we're going to ask you to re-register.
Entonces, cada venezolano que ya se registró, incluyendo los que no recibieron sus tarjetas, ustedes están en nuestra base de datos. Algunos no obtendrán la tarjeta, pero esos son unos pocos que han tenido algún antecedente penal o alguna declaración falsa, pero esos son muy pocos, y así el proceso se hará.
The first thing is you have to fill out an application form, a 17A application form.
Lo primero es que tienes que llenar una planilla, la planilla número 17A, tienes que completarla.
And to get this form, what you do is you go onto the National Security website and you download this form.
Para obtener la planilla deberías ir a la página web del Ministerio de Seguridad Nacional y bajar esta planilla.
The next thing you do once you fill out these forms is you'll complete the form with the required documents, and I'll get into what are the required documents, and you place them in a sealed envelope.
Luego, completas la planilla junto con los documentos que se pedirán. Ahora voy a dar los detalles sobre eso. Y lo vas a colocar en un sobre sellado.
You'd write your full name, your minister's permit number, a telephone number, and an email address on the outside of the envelope. These are critical pieces of information. So you'd write your full name, your minister's permit number, a telephone number. This is critical, a telephone number for us to contact you by, and an email address on the outside of the envelope.
Y afuera, en el sobre, usted escribirá su nombre completo, el número de permiso de trabajo del ministro, su número telefónico, el cual es crítico, y su correo electrónico. Todo esto debería ir en la parte de afuera del sobre.
And what we're going to do is ask you to drop off this envelope in a drop-off box at one of the following locations.
Y lo que haremos es que usted tendrá que dejar este sobre en un buzón donde le vamos a indicar dónde es.
They will be at the Immigration Enforcement Offices, one of the following offices. Number 135 Henry Street, Port of Spain, which is the Port of Spain office. At number 2 Knox Street, San Fernando, which is our San Fernando South office. Or at the Agricola Building, Wilson Road, Scarborough.
Entonces, los 3 lugares donde pueden dejar estos sobres es en la oficina de la inmigración legal, que es el número 135 de la calle Henry en Puerto España. Otra oficina, número 2 Knox Street en San Fernando. Y el edificio Agricola en Scarborough, que eso es en Tobago.
So those are the 3 drop-off points. So you have Port of Spain, San Fernando, and Scarborough in Tobago. And of course we will publish all of this information so you will know exactly what to do.
Entonces son 3 lugares donde se pueden dejar los sobres: en Puerto España, San Fernando, en Scarborough, en Tobago. Y por supuesto vamos a publicar esto para que puedan tener esta información.
There are a number of required documents that we'll ask that you include in the envelope along with your completed application form.
Hay unos documentos que se le requiere de que usted los va a juntar junto con la planilla.
You would have to provide a copy of your migrant registration card or your minister's permit.
Entonces tendrá que adjuntar copia de la tarjeta del ministro,
Recent passport size photo,
una fotografía reciente, tamaño pasaporte,
a copy of the biodata page of your passport or your cedula or your UNHCR card,
copia del pasaporte, copia de la tarjeta ACNUR, copia de su cédula,
proof of your address in Trinidad and Tobago,
evidencia de su dirección en Trinidad y Tobago,
and if you have a job and you're employed, a job letter.
y si tienes un trabajo y estás empleado, una carta de trabajo.
Now there are a number of other details that I wouldn't get into today, but if you all, when you ask questions, it may come up in that aspect of the interview here this evening, and also it will all be published. All of this information will be published during the course of this week on the Ministry of National Security website, and we will also seek to put it on social media platforms and advertise it.
Entonces, habrá otros detalles que habría que indicarles. Sin embargo, cuando hagan las preguntas puede ser que ya sean contestadas. Toda la información será publicada en nuestra página web, en las plataformas de los medios sociales y también, o sea, escrito en otros sitios de información.
Before you go on,
Yes.
Minister, we have a couple of questions already from our audience online.
Okay.
Diony says, buenas tardes a todos, señor ministro. ¿Qué probabilidad existe que la extensión de los permisos de trabajo duren un año y no solamente 6 meses?
Good afternoon, Minister. What probability is there that the cards will have a duration of 1 year instead of 6 months?
Okay, that's a good question, because I know that a lot of persons, when they finally collected their cards and they had the 6 months passes very quickly for some, and they found themselves in difficulties with employers telling them, well, it's expired, etc. That decision is still being taken. In the first instance, it's expected that we will go with the 6-month period. But what we have told employers is once a person is in possession of that migrant registration card, it is as good as gold, and that even though the time on it has expired, once the government announces an extension, they are granted the extension.
Esa es una muy buena pregunta. Se supone, entendemos que cuando algunos de ustedes recibieron sus tarjetas, ya prácticamente estaba vencido, porque 6 meses es un tiempo corto. Sin embargo, todavía estamos en discusión sobre la decisión de tomarlo por 1 año. Se espera que una vez una persona que tenga en su posesión una tarjeta y ya ha pasado el tiempo de 6 meses, nosotros les hemos dicho a todos los empleadores que una vez que la persona tenga en su posesión esa tarjeta es tan bueno como oro, una vez que el gobierno declare que haya sido extendida.
Let me just say, with this re-registration process, what we're looking to do is get current, up-to-date information on everyone. And that, again, is designed to protect both our Venezuelan brothers and sisters who are part of this program, as well as to give us at National Security up-to-date information on everyone from a data point of view. And once we're going to be issuing you with a new card, so again, that is a benefit to everyone, and we're going to introduce this on this round that if persons lose their cards, I mean, you're still in our database, you can get a new card, and I think you'll have to pay a fee of $500. But we want to get these cards issued to everyone. That's why your telephone number, your email address are critical, because as you drop your information in the Dropbox and it's processed, you will be contacted to collect your new cards.
Entonces, déjame decirles algo. Este proceso que se van a registrar de nuevo, en realidad es para actualizar los datos de todos los que ya se registraron. Esta actualización es para proteger a nuestros hermanos y hermanas venezolanos y también para que la seguridad nacional esté actualizada sobre su información. Esta tarjeta les va a beneficiar a todos. Ahora, si su tarjeta es extraviada, usted podría solicitar una nueva a la inmigración, ya que nosotros vamos a tener sus datos por un costo de $500 trinitarios. Por eso es tan crítico que ustedes informen de su teléfono, de su correo electrónico y su dirección, porque en el momento que la tarjeta esté emitida, es que así que los vamos a contactar.
All right, we have another question. They're coming in fast and furious now, Minister. Diony, again, otra cosa. Nos gustaría, por favor, lleve al primer ministro la propuesta de que a través de la Oficina de Inmigración se haga un estudio de la situación de los venezolanos, hijos o nietos de ciudadanos trinitarios, para regularizar su posible condición como ciudadano o residencia, ya que existen trabas que no permiten agilizar nuestra situación.
So, Natasha, you're
Natasha,
going to take away my job. So, Minister, what we want to propose is that maybe with immigration, a study is made regarding the situation of Venezuelans who would have had children and grandchildren here in Trinidad to regularize their situation here, whether it's residents or citizens, because there have been many challenges.
Okay, so that is noted. You know, that is not for immigration. That is really a government policy decision. And so I have noted it. I mean, it is something that we're aware of. Of course, they're not Venezuelans if they're born in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So you would have had a number of babies born in Trinidad and Tobago to Venezuelans who are part of this migrant registration scheme and system. And of course, they, according to our laws in Trinidad and Tobago, would be eligible for citizenship by nature of being born here in Trinidad and Tobago. But I understand the difficulties, and it is something that we've noted and we will take a look at.
se ha tomado esto en cuenta. Esto no es una situación para que inmigración se encargue. Esto es política del gobierno. Sabemos que un venezolano que haya tenido un hijo aquí, ese bebé nace aquí en Trinidad, pues automáticamente, por ley, es ciudadano trinitario. Pero sí estamos pendientes y hemos notado las dificultades que haya y estamos mirando a eso.
All right. Tere Luz says, buenas tardes. Las personas que están enfermas y no pueden trabajar como Aven, solo trabaja sin pareja.
Persons that are ill and cannot work and only their, what did you say, Natasha? Their partner.
Y no pueden trabajar como Aven, solo trabaja sin pareja.
That only one of the party can work, their partner, meaning that the other person would be ill and cannot work. But the question?
Persons who are ill and can't work. Well, I mean, if you're not working, you're not working. I don't think it's a requirement.
Correct. I mean, once you're registered in this scheme, remember there was no conditionality for you to stay registered that you had to work. I mean, what we were trying to do is provide you with some sort of regularized status in Trinidad and Tobago to protect you. So there is no requirement that you work. Of course, you're not able to access the social welfare side from the state, but we've seen Trinidad and Tobago and our people have been very generous, including certain aspects of the government over time, especially in a pandemic, and persons have tried to help our brothers and sisters from Venezuela where they can.
Entonces, no existe condición para que tú puedas registrarte si estás enferma. Lo que quiero decir es que no hubo condición para registrarte, no necesariamente tenías que estar trabajando. Nosotros les dimos la oportunidad para que se registraran, pero si no están trabajando, no es una condición que no te van a dar la tarjeta. Incluso hemos visto que sabemos bien que no tienen beneficio del bienestar social que da el gobierno. Sin embargo, hemos visto las personas de Trinidad y Tobago ser muy generosos, incluyendo el gobierno, en tiempos de la pandemia.
All right, Agnes, she says, buenas tardes, saludos y bendiciones a todos. Somos una familia de 8 personas, 5 adultos y 3 niños. Vivimos en el mismo lugar. Nosotros ya llevamos todos estos requisitos a la oficina en Puerto España. El año pasado, antes de diciembre, es necesario que los llevemos y llenemos el formulario nuevamente.
So we are 8, a family of 8, 5 adults, 3 children. We all would have filled out a form and taken all these requirements into the immigration last year in December. Is it necessary that we do this again?
The answer is yes. Everyone is required to re-register and understand that after this re-registration period is over, if you haven't fulfilled the requirements and re-registered, you may find yourself in difficulty. So I'm really asking everyone, those 16,500 persons who were previously registered, use the opportunity. The offices will be open from 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Anyone can drop in your envelope for you. Anyone can drop in the envelope for you.
Sí es necesario, todos los que ya hayan llevado las planillas y con los datos actualizados, si es necesario, por favor, que lo vuelvan a hacer de nuevo. Se les requiere que a todos se vuelvan a registrar de nuevo. Cabe destacar que los que no se vuelvan a registrar, esos 16,500 que se registraron, si no se vuelven a registrar, desafortunadamente se pueden encontrar en dificultades. Las oficinas de la inmigración van a estar abiertas desde las 7 hasta las 4 de la tarde y pueden mandar a cualquiera persona que entregue el sobre.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency.
Si ahora te acabas de unir a nosotros, estás escuchando el programa Eye on Dependency.
We are speaking with the Honorable Minister Stuart Young,
Y estamos hablando con el ministro honorable, el señor Stuart Young.
Information for those of you who just joining us will be repeated right after this break.
Y la información para los que acaban de unirse será repetida después de esta pausa.
We'll be back.
Ya regresamos.
Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best. Where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 6:15 p.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And broadcast live on the Ion Dependency Facebook page.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! The computer and internet bundle CIB loan. Get a maximum of $15,000 with just a 0.75% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Pro Queen Street Arima 667-7633, Pamela's Mall Marabella 219-7745, Scarborough Tobago 639-6468, or Port of Spain 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
Get my phone. Get my phone.
What are you doing taking them kind of pictures? I'll tell mommy.
And I'll tell her you invaded my privacy.
Privacy? When you send those pics, you lose all privacy. It's like setting up a billboard with your naked pics for the world to see.
Those pictures are for my boyfriend's eyes only, and he'll never do that to me.
Yes, he can, or one of his friends or family, or someone can steal his phone. Sending naked pics can open you up to embarrassment for you, your family, and friends. You can be harassed by bullies. Your pics can be uploaded to websites and seen by everybody, even the wrong people, sex offenders. It can also affect you getting a good job in the future. Once those pictures go out, you can never get them back.
Okay, I'll tell my boyfriend delete them, and I'll delete these. I'm glad I have a smart little sister.
I'm still telling mommy.
They are always with us, in both small details and in big ones. Sometimes they make mistakes, and so often they make us feel proud. But they're by your side, always. When you work, when you study, in good times and in bad ones. Today, more than ever, we depend on them. All you need is to wash them properly. Wet your hands. Apply enough soap to cover all surfaces. Rub the palms of your hands against each other and then the back of each one, always keeping your fingers intertwined. Then rinse your hands extensively and dry them. Hand hygiene is one of the most effective measures to reduce the spread of infections. Now we are indeed in good hands.
You listen to Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be a fool and be a mule.
Ion Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best. Where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 6:15 p.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And broadcast live on the Ion Dependency Facebook page.
Welcome back to Independency. We are in studio with the Honorable Minister of National Security, the Honorable Stuart Young, and given again to Venezuelan nationals living here and registered already about the re-registration process.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos de nuevo al programa Eye on Dependency. Estamos hablando con respecto al nuevo registro que se realizará para los venezolanos que se registraron en el año pasado, que tendrán la oportunidad de volverse a registrar de nuevo.
For the benefit of our viewers and listeners, those of you who never seen and potential employers, we're going to put up an image of the registration card, both front and back, so you can see what it looks like.
Para el beneficio de los que, algunos que no han visto la tarjeta de registro, especialmente a los patrones, los empleadores, vamos a ponerlo en la página para que ustedes vean cómo es que se ve.
So, Shortman, you could go ahead and put up the card. Aracelys, in the meantime, could you just run through the important points at the minute for those of you who just joined us?
Ajá. Los
before you
puntos,
do that, Aracelys, what is the website, Minister?
Yes.
Okay, it is the website, the Ministry of National Security's website, where you would get the information and download the Form 17A, is www.nationalsecurity, one word, .gov.tt.
Aracelys.
Yep.
entonces, la planilla donde usted obtendrá la planilla es en la página web del Ministerio de Seguridad Nacional. Es la planilla número 17A y lo puedes bajar al www.national security security.gov.tt. Ahí pueden bajar, es www.nationalsecurity.gov.tt. Una sola palabra, National Security.
Right. So, Aracelys, could you just repeat for those who just joined us? Could you just repeat what the minister?
Entonces, para que acaban de unirse a nosotros y no habían escuchado los requisitos para el nuevo registro, para los que ya se registraron, es bajar la planilla de la página web, la planilla número 17A. Ahí lo tendrás que llenar, completar con los documentos que le van a solicitar en la planilla. Ahí en un sobre manila vas a poner tu nombre completo, el número telefónico, el número de la tarjeta de registro que tienes y tu correo electrónico en la parte de afuera. Sellas el sobre y puedes entregarlo a 3 puntos de la inmigración. El Puerto España, la número 135, la calle Henry Street. En San Fernando, el número 2, Knox Street. Y en Scarborough, en la isla de Tobago, en el edificio agrícola se escribe. También los requisitos, los documentos, habrá más detalles una vez que el Ministerio de Seguridad Nacional ponga esto en su plataforma, en la página web. Por supuesto, los que están trabajando también necesitan agregar una carta de trabajo.
So, someone is asking, Minister, if the individual is self-employed, is that captured on the form? And how can they demonstrate that they're employed, they're self-employed?
They're self-employed. That's a good question. I don't have a copy of the form in front of me, but I'm sure that those who are in the immigration service are listening. I know the staff at National Security are listening, and I'm sure there will be some area, if you're self-employed, for you to fill out that you're self-employed, because we do recognize that a lot of our Venezuelan brothers and sisters, I mean, they're resilient,
Very
and they are
entrepreneurial.
self-employed and doing their entrepreneurial business, whether it be in food or whatever else.
Si tienes, o sea, tu propio negocio, no tengo copia de la planilla delante de mí. Sin embargo, yo sé que los funcionarios de inmigración y todos involucrados están escuchando, y yo sé que ellos, reconociendo que el venezolano es resiliente, el venezolano le gusta trabajar por sí solo, reconocen eso. Yo estoy seguro que hay una forma, un lugar en la planilla donde usted puede completar esa información.
All right. María asks, buenas noches, ministro. Con respecto a la apertura de cuentas bancarias, los bancos están autorizados para realizar este trámite para venezolanos. Siempre que voy al banco me dicen que no puedo porque el carnet está vencido.
Minister, reference to opening bank account. Every time I go, the bank's authorized to accept our cards, because every time that I go and I try to open an account, they tell me no because the card is expired.
So ultimately, that would depend on the banks themselves, all right? So there's no legislation, there's no regulation making it obligatory, mandatory for banks to recognize the cards or for banks to open accounts. And I could understand from their point of view, they may see this as a temporary measure. We started off for 6 months. We went for another 6 months a year. By the time, we're going to end up in 2 years with this system. So it really is up to the banks. But as we've said before, even though cards are expired, and they can also check. There are ways they can check with immigration, I'm sure, whether these persons and are in fact viable cards, whether they're legitimate cards. And that is something I'm going to take away from here, because that does make sense, that maybe we have to have some sort of system at National Security and Immigration that persons can check in to see whether these cards are authentic or not. But it does depend on the banks. That is not something, we're not forcing the banks in this situation at all.
Esto todo depende del banco. No hay legislación, no hay regularización que nosotros podemos imponerle al banco para que ellos puedan aceptar las tarjetas. Nosotros entendemos el punto de vista de ellos, porque siempre la tarjeta tiene una validez corta de 6 meses. Pero aún así, ya vamos teniendo 2 años con este sistema. Entonces, es cuestión que el banco lo acepte o no. Nosotros lo que estamos pensando es poner un sistema donde una entidad como el banco puede chequear con la inmigración a ver si la tarjeta que presenta la persona está apta, está legal. Eso es lo que nosotros podemos hacer, pero de verdad nosotros no podemos obligar al banco a que acepte la tarjeta.
No, somebody asked, good evening, Minister. Does the registration card allow us to get, for instance, driving license and buy a vehicle, etc.?
It wouldn't stop you from buying a vehicle. There's no particular law that governs the buying of vehicles. So that's between private seller and a private purchaser. With respect to the driver's permits, no, I don't think we did put in place on the last occasion that it permits you to get your driver's permit in Trinidad. It would be the normal laws that apply in Trinidad and Tobago with respect to your driver's permits. And I don't have that in front of me here today. I know persons with international driver's permits, they may have been able to apply for some recognition in Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm not quite sure. But this doesn't automatically give you a right to go for your Trinidad and Tobago driver's permit.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
So probably we could get that information and share it later on.
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that's important too, because if somebody's working and they want to get a vehicle, especially those who are self-employed, they would.
Understood. So what I will do is I will communicate with the Ministry of Works and Transport to find out what it is, and we can always provide that information as well. But there's no automatic right just because you're registered for you to go and get your driver's permit, as far as I am aware.
Okay.
Entonces, era una pregunta. La primera parte de la pregunta era que si puedes usar la tarjeta para comprar un vehículo. Por supuesto, eso es una transacción privada entre el que compra y el que vende. No hay ningún problema para comprar un vehículo. Ahora, para el permiso para conducir, nosotros no, eso es por las leyes normales que se tiene que regir el Departamento de Transporte, y son ellos que tienen las leyes. Yo yo tendría que ver y hablar con ellos, porque no tengo cuáles son las leyes con respecto a esto, las leyes que utilizan ellos para regirse. Pero lo que puedo decirles que nosotros no no ordenamos, no pusimos nada, no preparamos nada como para que la tarjeta de registro sea usado para solicitar el permiso para conducir.
All right, Minister, I'm not sure if you mentioned before, but what is the, is it still a 6-month
Yeah,
period?
so in the first instance, it is going to be a 6-month period.
Right.
And one of the things that was just being messaged to me here by the permanent secretary is what we've decided to do is you come with once the registration process is completed and you're contacted by immigration to come in, there's going to be a security sort of endorsement on your card, and we're actually going to use your existing cards, right? So of course cut cost, use your existing cards and give it that extension on your existing cards. And that also gives us an opportunity to just check and make sure persons have their cards, etc. If they don't and they were registered and they've re-registered because you are in our system, then we can issue you with a new card.
Entonces, se volvió a preguntar sobre la validez de la tarjeta. En la primera instancia, la tarjeta va a tener una validez de 6 meses. Sin embargo, el ministro acaba de informar que la misma tarjeta que se tiene se va a utilizar. Así los que tienen su tarjeta, una vez que terminan su proceso y completen todo, una vez que lo llamen, preséntense con su tarjeta. Porque esta misma tarjeta se va a agregar algún tipo de característica de seguridad en la tarjeta ya existente. Eso nos dará a nosotros la oportunidad para chequear su tarjeta que esté bien y también para actualizar sus datos. Entonces, eso es lo que también tenemos que tomar en cuenta.
Okay, Leonardo is asking if we have the UNHCR card and the passport both expired, can they just submit their Venezuelan ID, or should we submit the expired documents?
You can submit the expired documents. Of course, if you have current documents, submit the current documents as well. But remember, we already have in our database these 16,500 Venezuelans. So we already have your record. So what we're doing is a verification exercise and an updating exercise, because your place of address, your place of abode, the address may have changed, your phone number may have changed, you may have a different job, etc. But I want to emphasize we already have the information in our system, a specific system of these 16,500 persons.
So, Minister, could be either or the ID.
Yeah, because what it says is a copy of your biodata, page of your passport, your UNHCR card, your ID card, how do you pronounce it? Cedula. Correct. All right. So it could be one of those 3 things, or it could be all three. I mean, just give us the information. But we already have the existing information from the original registration.
Entonces, alguien preguntó que tienen la tarjeta ACNUR y su pasaporte vencido, y si puede presentar la cédula. El ministro informó que quiere recordarles que ya en su sistema de base de datos, ya ellos tienen la información de los 16.500 venezolanos que se registraron. Este ejercicio es un ejercicio de verificación y actualización de datos. Por supuesto, ya ha pasado un tiempo, su dirección, su teléfono, ha cambiado su trabajo. Nosotros ya tenemos información. Entonces, puedes anexar, si tienes los 3, puedes los 3, si no, uno de cualquiera de los que se han mencionado. Copia de su pasaporte, la cédula, el ACNUR, cualquiera de esos o todos.
Before you just mentioned people who unfortunately take advantage of some situation.
Correct.
Somebody saying here, good evening, my name is Luis Conclave. Thank you all for information. I like many of us have been owed wages for 2 months. Who should I go to recover my salary?
Gracias por su información. La pregunta es, muchos de nosotros se nos debe salario durante varios meses. ¿A quién voy para solicitar apoyo?
Well, I mean, there's no one to go to recover your salary. I mean, that's a difficult one, because your salary and your employment is a contract between yourself and your employer. So it really is to take that information to the authorities. In this instance, I'm not even quite sure who the right authority is.
I know the Ministry of Labour.
Well, I was going to say the Ministry of Labour,
Yes.
right? And so take it to the Ministry of Labour and let them do what they can to follow up on it. But it's so unfortunate, and it really is upsetting. It's not only in these circumstances, but it is always upsetting the criminality and persons who take advantage of those who are more vulnerable in our society.
Para las personas que informó, el ministro dice que es un contrato entre el que trabaja y el empleador. Sin embargo, cuando tienes algún problema como esto, lo más probable es que debería dirigirse al Ministerio de Trabajo, la Inspectoría de Trabajo en este caso. Es muy desafortunado que esto esté sucediendo y hasta se siente mal que esto haya sucedido. Sin embargo, la Inspectoría de Trabajo, usted puede dirigirse a ellos para solicitar apoyo con su situación.
And if I can just use this opportunity just to remind persons, because I've had a number of instances over the last year, if you engage in crime and criminality, understand immediately it's going to mean the cancellation of your card and you could face deportation.
Quiero recordarle a todos esto porque yo he visto, quiero usar esta oportunidad para recordarle a estas personas. Si ustedes se involucran en actos criminales, en crimen, sepan que su tarjeta se le retirará y ustedes, por supuesto, hasta la deportación pueden también enfrentarse a deportación.
Yes, we have lots. I hope the ministry has someone on this live here documenting all of these questions because I really can't keep up. It's a lot. Ana asks, ¿cómo se hace si se extravió el pasaporte aquí en Trinidad? Se debe llevar la denuncia.
Meaning her Venezuelan passport?
Yes.
Okay. What do we do if one loses their passport? Do I report it?
Yes, you should report it. I mean, there is a very active Venezuelan embassy here in Trinidad as well, right there on Victoria Avenue in Breton Hall. So report it to the police in Trinidad and Tobago, and then also go to your Venezuelan embassy and make the necessary reports.
En caso de extraviar su pasaporte, deberías primeramente reportarlo a la policía y por supuesto tenemos una embajada de Venezuela muy activa en Breton Hall en la avenida Victoria y deberías de ir también allá para informarles.
All right. A lot of people apparently have lost their documents. So in that case, let's hope you still have your card at least.
Some of them would have lost their cards too.
Oh. Well, as the minister says, if your information is still in the database, at least you can update what information you have now. You may not be able to provide the actual documents, but
some of them walk around with just the police report. That's what they're walking around with.
A police report saying what?
That they would have lost the card, or if they were held up and,
Also, they would have at least made a report to the police that the documents were stolen.
Yes. So, the good news now with this re-registration process is we've provided if you've lost your card, if it's mutilated, etc., provide us with the information. You can be issued with a new card because we have your information in the system. So it can't be we've registered Pedro and Pablo comes and Pablo gets Pedro's card, all right? Because we have the information in the system. We have your photographs in the system. We have your original Venezuelan documentation in our system. So come forward and re-register. And when I hear that persons have lost their documentation, etc., the investigative and experienced side of me who's been dealing with human trafficking comes up. And if there are those types of instances as well where persons are being taken advantage of and unscrupulous people are taking their documentation, etc., we have a counter trafficking unit, we have the police service. You report it to us and we will do what we can. But do not fear if you've legitimately lost your documents and your documentation. We have your records on our system and we will be able to issue you with a new ministerial permit or registration card.
Entonces, para aquellas personas que hayan extraviado su tarjeta, que se le haya sido robado o la tarjeta ha sido dañada, esta es la oportunidad, la nueva oportunidad que ustedes tienen para venir a volverse a registrar para que se le emita una tarjeta nueva. Eso sí, recordamos que ya tenemos su información en el sistema, su fotografía, sus documentos originales, los documentos venezolanos. Así que no va a ser un caso de que Pablo va a ir a retirar la tarjeta de Pedro va a retirar la tarjeta de Pablo. Cuando yo escucho que alguien dice que perdió su tarjeta, la parte mía, la que investiga, sabiendo muy bien lo que significa la trata de personas y las personas que han sufrido, que lo han explotado con personas, con criminales, quiero que sepan que tenemos la unidad contra trata de personas, tenemos a la policía. Así que si verdaderamente su tarjeta se perdió, no tenga miedo, vaya a la policía y tiene que reportarlo, no tenga miedo y nosotros entonces le emitiremos su tarjeta nueva.
Minister, I have a off-the-cuff question.
Go ahead.
With respect to COVID-19, I know that the Minister of Health, when this process began in 2019, mentioned that the health services, the public health services, will be made available to the Venezuelan migrants. Is that going to obtain in this time around as well?
Yes, so the answer is yes. I mean, we continue, fortunately, to be a very humanitarian society, a very, I think, a good society. So throughout the whole pandemic, we haven't turned anyone away on the basis of whether they be Venezuelan, they be Chinese, they be African, anything like that. I mean, once persons present at our health centers, because of course the virus doesn't care. Correct. You know, who you are, what you are, what religion you are, what color your skin is, etc. And that applies here as well. So we have treated a number of Venezuelans throughout, and the testing is there, etc. And we have not discriminated whatsoever.
La pregunta es que con respecto al COVID-19, el ministro de Salud previamente había informado que el migrante iba a tener atención médica con respecto al COVID-19, si eso sigue en pie. Y la respuesta es sí. Afortunadamente, Trinidad sigue siendo una sociedad muy humanitaria, yo diría una sociedad buena. Y sí, la pandemia no ve si eres venezolano, si eres chino o lo que sea. Una vez que tienes el virus, nosotros cuidaremos de ustedes y hemos tratado unos cuantos venezolanos.
To return again to that question regarding work conditions and conditions of employment, we have been, actually our Dependency has been in partnership with the counter-trafficking unit running some ads about child labor in English and Spanish. And we will continue to do so as we encourage Venezuelan nationals to access the Ministry of Labor's hotlines and website to get information about how you can deal with some of these issues that you're mentioning and when they come up, because the Ministry of Labor, we know we've had them on the program with regard to the Venezuelan nationals already, and they are aware of some of the issues that you're having. So be assured that the Ministry of Labor, I'm sure with the guidance of the Ministry of National Security, will attend to your issues.
And I just received some information from Ms. Wheeler for the Labor Inspectorate, so you will share it to them to Aracelys.
Okay.
When you get a chance.
Yep.
Entonces, con respecto de nuevo con esa pregunta con respecto a la situación en el trabajo, también sabemos que la unidad contra trata de personas se han dado cuenta que ahora también tenemos la situación de los niños trabajadores. tanto de habla inglés y de habla español. Entonces, la Inspectoría de Trabajo tiene una línea directa y ellos tienen también su página web para tratar con algunos de estos problemas que ustedes tienen con respecto a salario y esas cosas. Nos tuvimos aquí en un tiempo y ellos habían dado mucha información. Y nos acaba de informar la unidad contratada de personas que tienen una información con respecto a la Inspectoría de Trabajo. Para tratar con algunos de estos...
Sorry. As we're trying to manage all of the different information that is coming in from all over. There are a few more questions, I'm sure, on the chat, so let me just try and get to those. Aracelys, I don't know if you had any.
Well, I have one. He wrote it on Facebook, and I wrote it down to ask Minister.
No, please, go ahead.
What can I do to get my wife out of Shagarama? She's been there 18 days.
Your wife would only be in Shagaramas if she came in illegally. Trinidad and Tobago's laws remain in place. We are not encouraging persons to enter our border without permission. Our borders are closed. The borders of Venezuela are closed. And, you know, we have to maintain law and order here in Trinidad and Tobago. And whilst we are very cognizant and we understand the difficulties, we are not going to encourage the breaking of laws. Our borders are closed. Any Venezuelan coming here, you have to get a visa, you have to have permission to come here, and that remains the law of Trinidad and Tobago.
Para la persona que preguntó que tiene su esposa ya 18 días en Chagaramas, ¿qué haría él? El ministro informa, si su esposa está en Chagaramas, significa que entró al país de la manera ilegal. Existen leyes y para poder entrar a este país necesitas un permiso para entrar en este país. Las fronteras de Trinidad y las de Venezuela están cerradas. Para poder entrar a este país debería tener permiso, debe tener una visa. Entendemos su dificultad, pero no podemos animar a que se violen las leyes. Necesitas una visa para entrar y bueno, si entró sin permiso, esa es la razón por qué está allá.
We have another question. Somebody's actually said about the banks. He or she has said that JMMB is accepting the registration card once your Venezuelan passport is not expired. We have no way of verifying that, but MEL Aliyah says that JMMB is among the financial institutions that will accept your card and allow you to open an account.
Se acaba de informar unas personas de que el banco JMMB está aceptando la tarjeta de registro para abrir su cuenta bancaria siempre y cuando el pasaporte no esté vencido.
All right. Aracelys, did you have any other questions? I've not been able to pick up all of the long list just yet.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Minister, so every 6 months, since this is going to be an ongoing process, every 6 months will the Venezuelans be required to update their information?
Again, I am one who often says I can't predict the future. Okay. At this stage, we're focused on this re-registration process. Let's see what happens over time. And if it is required, it will be required.
La pregunta fue, como si esto es un proceso continuo, si se le va a requerir a los venezolanos actualizar sus datos cada 6 meses. Y el ministro en verdad dice que él no puede ver el futuro. Estamos en este proceso, vamos a ver cómo va. Y si es necesario, pues se tendrá que hacer de nuevo.
Right. This question has also come up quite a bit, Minister, about other nationals, i.e. the Cuba, who are clamoring for some regularization of their presence here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. I know it's off topic, but is there anything that you can say to them?
Again, the Venezuelan migrant registration process came out of government policy, and we are always looking at what is going on. We're very aware of what is going on. So I am not going to venture down that road at all.
Gotcha.
All right, not at this stage, but it is something that we will continue to monitor.
Yes. Okay.
Para la pregunta que si el sistema también para los cubanos, si también se podía regularizar su situación, el ministro informó que el proceso de registro fue política del gobierno y por tanto siempre Trinidad está viendo qué es lo que está sucediendo y ver si ellos pueden hacerlo, y ellos están pendientes de esta situación.
All right. I don't know if this question was answered already. Pregunta para el ministro: ¿cuál es su posición sobre los niños nacidos en Trinidad
Yeah, he answered that already.
de padres emigrantes? Yes, okay.
So whilst you all are looking for questions, let me just re-emphasize.
Yes.
Sure.
So what we're asking persons to do, and this exercise is probably going to start on the 8th of March and continue until the 26th of March. All persons who have already been registered in the Venezuelan Migration Registration Scheme, come forward. You're required to fill out the forms, put other documents into an envelope, seal your envelope, drop it at one of the 3 locations, and we will process it and then contact you. So your phone number, your email address are going to be critical, but we're looking to update the information, and in updating this information, verifying your information, etc., we're making it safer for everyone. So we're really encouraging everybody to participate in this re-registration exercise, remembering it is only those who were registered before.
Entonces, quiero recordarles de nuevo el proceso de registro nuevo para los que ya se registraron. Es desde el 8 de marzo al 26 de marzo. Todas las personas que ya fueron registrados previamente, se les requiere que se les vuelva a registrar, agregando, bajando la página, la planilla de la página web, llenando la planilla, poniéndolo en un sobre, entregándolo a la oficina de inmigración. Luego el ministerio lo va a procesar, los va a contactar. Por eso es tan crítico su número telefónico, para que puedan contactarlos a ustedes. Entonces, una vez que toda la recuérdense que esto va a ser un ejercicio de verificación y actualización de sus datos. Y una vez que ya esté todo listo, pues lo llamarán para que tengan su tarjeta.
Okay, someone wants to find out, before we take a break, someone would, Minister, what work options will exist for legally registered professionals in Trinidad and Tobago?
That's a good question.
For legally registered Venezuelans. Professionals.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be what exists right now. I mean, once you have this Venezuelan migration card, registration migration card, you're entitled to work in Trinidad and Tobago. I guess you'll have to find a job and you'll have to convince employers and this type of thing, and that would apply for professionals.
¿Qué hay de la pregunta de los profesionales que están legalmente registrados en Trinidad? ¿Qué existe para ellos? El ministro informa que una vez, para eso es la tarjeta de registro, para que usted pueda obtener trabajo. Una vez que usted ya tenga esa tarjeta de registro, usted tiene derecho de obtener empleo incluso en su área de profesión. Usted tiene derecho. Es cuestión de buscarlo y convencer al mismo que usted es apto. I'm sorry, but
No,
I didn't
that's
realize
fine.
that I had my phone.
All right, so let's take a break. Let's kind of line up the ducks here again, and we'll come back because we're getting closer to wrap-up time. So let's take a quick break and we'll be back.
Entonces vamos a tomar una pausa y ya regresamos. Usted está escuchando a Eye on Dependency.
Garth St. Clair, Natasha Nunez. Eye on Dependency. On air and everywhere on I-95.5, the most influential name in radio.
Kosona, I come in, and don't give me no attitude there.
You have Shiana manners, boy. I wish I had your touch, boy.
You have to groom them. First, you have to target them. Scope them out. See if they have low self-esteem, family problems, you know? Then you move in and gain the trust.
I like your glasses.
After that, you feel a need. Some of them like nice things like fancy phones, hairdos, clothes, food. It have ones who only looking for somebody to care and listen to the problems. You feel me? What's important though, you have to isolate them from the people. Let them believe it's all about you and them.
I care about you.
Then you get through.
Nice, nice.
Look one right here. Try thing now.
A message from the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Confused or worried about symptoms during the COVID-19 pandemic? If you only have a runny nose or are sneezing, you may have a cold or allergies. Have you lost your sense of taste or smell? Are you experiencing shortness of breath? These are common symptoms of COVID-19. Coughing, fatigue, and fever are all symptoms of both flu and COVID-19. If you have a temperature above 38 degrees Celsius or 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, call your local healthcare provider or hotline for medical advice and ask whether you need a COVID-19 test. If you have any COVID-19 symptoms or are waiting for test results, stay home and isolate from other members of your household. Drink fluids and eat well. Always wear a mask if you're in the same room as others. If you test positive for COVID-19, follow your healthcare provider's advice. If at any time you experience a danger sign like difficulty breathing, chest pain, confusion, loss of speech or mobility, don't wait. Seek medical care immediately. Remember, you can prevent colds, flu and COVID-19 by following a few basic precautions. Stay safe and protect each other. We're in this together. Know your risk, lower your risk.
Back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! 60 to 40 loan. For new members or members with no loan, get a maximum of $300,000 with just a 1% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Bro, Queen Street, Arima, 667-7633. Pamela's Mall, Marabella, 219-7745. Scarborough, Tobago, 639-6468. Or Port of Spain, 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
My name is Joanne Ferdinand. I am a Justice of the Supreme Court in New York State, and you are listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best. Where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 6:15 p.m. and exclusively on the 95.5 FM.
And broadcast live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page.
Welcome back.
Wife.
Welcome back to Our Dependency. Aracelys is busy on her phone taking messages and so on.
900 messages.
900 messages. Imagine that. So, Aracelys, Minister, I was asking you, is there a possibility, and Aracelys, share this number quickly before I forget.
Okay.
It's 299-0300, option 3, this for the Ministry of Labour.
Okay.
Labor Inspectorate.
Labor Inspectorate. So in case they want to report these incidents of people not paying them, so it's 299-0300, option 3, and www.molsed, Sierra Echo Delta, .gov.tt. can share that with.
Okay. Buenas tardes, bienvenido de nuevo. Tengo una información con respecto a la Inspectoría de Trabajo para las personas que han tenido problemas, situaciones en su trabajo, con salario y otras. El número de teléfono es 299-0300, 299-0300. Usted le va a dar a la opción 3 para reportar cualquier incidente con respecto a salario, trabajo. También está su página web www.m de Managua o L de Lima, S de Santiago, E D de dedo, .gov.tt. Eso es los contactos para la Inspectoría de Trabajo de Trinidad y Tobago.
Right. Someone asked here, Minister, I have 15 years of experience in libraries with my legal certification where I could contribute my knowledge in this area. I came from University of Carabobo, Venezuela. I'm a profession in computer engineering with more than 15 years at the service of university, libraries, and medical area. So if we have a lot of professionals here, Minister, that we can use.
With economic migration, I mean, this is a phenomenon. So all over the world, when you have economic migration, which is what we've been saying, this is not refugee status and the way other mischievous people try to paint it. It's
Right.
economic migration, persons trying to make a better life for themselves and coming to Trinidad. It is an open market. Trinidad is an open labor market. So once you're registered under this scheme, you can go and try and get a job. You'll have to persuade, as I said a little while ago, the employer that you are the right person to employ.
Right. Hi, good evening. Sorry.
Con respecto a la persona que dijo que tiene 15 años es ingeniero en computación, 15 años también en la biblioteca, en la universidad. Con respecto a trabajo, el ministro dice que en todo el mundo el movimiento del migrante, todo esto es lo que se llama es la economía del migrante, ¿no? Todas estas personas están tratando de buscar una mejor vida. Es un mercado abierto y si usted es un profesional, usted lo que tiene que hacer es buscar el trabajo y por supuesto convencer al patrón que usted es apto para ese puesto. El mercado está abierto.
Can those who have cancelled fines receive the updated card?
I just saw that question and I'm not quite sure what they're talking about. What fines they're talking about.
Right. So it depends on what fines they're speaking about.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, those who have cancelled fines, who have not cancelled fines, receive the update of the card.
Most probably it's a court order.
Okay. All right. So let's.
All right. I have another question from an interesting one. Hi, Garth and Natasha. I recently got married to a Venezuelan who was registered under the last process. We should get our marriage certificate soon. Will he have to include a copy of that with the new form?
I think he should include a copy of it with the new form, but that introduces a whole other scheme of law, as you're aware, once you've married a Trinidadian. But yes, if he's coming back and he should, under this re-registration exercise, put all the information in the envelope.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Para la persona que hizo la pregunta, que recientemente se casó y con un... With a Venezuelan or Trinidadian? Sorry.
A Trinidadian married a Venezuelan.
Para el trinitario que se acaba de casar con una venezolana, entonces sí, el acto de matrimonio debe ir incluida en los documentos con la planilla nueva para actualizar los datos. Claro, se debe entender que una vez que ya hay el matrimonio, ya eso introduce un nuevo sistema completamente un nuevo proceso completamente diferente. Sin embargo, por ahora sí, debería de incluirlo en los documentos.
Right. When will the form be posted, the 17A, on the Ministry of National Security website?
Okay, so as I was just telling someone, during the course of this week, the final decisions are going to be taken, right? So I came here on Eye on Dependency tonight because of our relationship.
Right.
And I just wanted to give it a sort of soft opening. But during the course of this week, we're going to have a official press conference and make all of the announcements, and I'll make sure that they have the information available as to when we're going to launch.
This week then.
And we will share that information on our page as well.
Appreciate it.
Entonces, con respecto a cuándo la planilla va a estar disponible durante el curso de esta semana, ya después que tengan ellos algunos sistemas en lugar, entonces ellos ya lo tendrán más o menos para el transcurso de esta semana.
All right, another interesting one. If I have a child with a Trinidadian, so the baby is Venezuelan and Trinidadian, but I am Venezuelan, this is a woman, I am Venezuelan and she's registered. On this condition, can I carry him to court and obligate him to take responsibility for his child?
Okay, so
can she bring him up for maintenance? That's what she's generally asking.
So it would depend on what is the law, the applicable law. So in this instance, it would be the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. And again, I haven't come here tonight to give legal advice. And she should seek the necessary legal advice for that.
All right, so let's take some calls. Aracelys,
I'm sorry, I did not hear the question because I was looking at my phone. I have to stop looking at the phone. So many
question
questions.
Was a Venezuelan who bore a child for Trinidadian. So the child is born here in Trinidad. She's asking whether she can take the father of the child to court for maintenance.
Okay.
And my advice is seek legal advice from a lawyer. But the child is a Trinidadian, the father is a Trinidadian, and it's the laws of Trinidad and Tobago that would apply.
Para la persona que preguntó que si ella puede llevar a la corte al padre de su hijo porque no paga manutención, y el ministro informa que usted debería de solicitar consejería legal porque todo esto depende de las leyes de Trinidad y Tobago. Usted debería entonces solicitar consejería legal con respecto a eso.
Right. So, Aracelys, before we go, one more from me, Minister. If somebody wants to leave, let's say, somebody saying they have two friends detained here and they want to leave, well, I'm not seeing as Cuban, but they want to leave Trinidad and Tobago. How do they go about? They want to leave.
It's Cubans?
Yes.
All right. First of all, the borders are shut. All right, so that's the first difficulty. But if it was Venezuelans, you would know that we've had a number of repatriation exercises.
Right.
There was one a couple of days ago that was completely organized by the Venezuelan government, and kudos to them. The Venezuelan embassy here did it in collaboration with Caracas and provided the opportunity for about 100 Venezuelans to repatriate back to Venezuela. In that instance, Garth, the truth is that the necessary arrangements would have to be made with the Cuban government.
Good.
Or, I mean, because right now they're just not commercial flights for them to get on to leave Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. Fair enough.
Para el ciudadano cubano que quiere irse con sus dos amigos, están aquí detenidos, y irse de Trinidad, el ministro informa, primeramente, las fronteras están cerradas. La repatriación hasta ahora ha sido para los venezolanos, que recientemente el gobierno venezolano organizó una repatriación junto con la ayuda de Caracas. El gobierno de Venezuela lo hizo todo y los tengo que felicitar a ellos. Pero para el cubano en este instante, él debería de solicitar esta información con el gobierno cubano, porque con respecto incluso, porque ahorita no hay vuelos comerciales para allá.
622-3937. Aracelys.
And the number is
622-3937.
Hello, good evening.
Entonces, el número para llamar es 622-3937. Pueden ahora llamar y hacer sus preguntas. 622-3937.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening to everyone. Good evening, God and Natasha and everyone else.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple Tobago-centric questions, but before I go that way, Minister, does the government have an end game where the Venezuelan situation is concerned, for example, are we looking at some point in time down the road to grant them some sort of permanent residency or some similar arrangement of that kind?
Not at this time. So as I said a short while ago, I am not one who can predict the future, but at this time the policy remains that we, as a humanitarian gesture, and to really legalize those who were here in 2019, and to also try and cut back on the illegal misuse of our Venezuelan brothers and sisters who are here. We came up with this registration scheme, and we continue to just renew it at this stage. And what I'd like to do, seeing that you raise a point, is just to make the point at this stage to avoid mischief that this registration does not give any Venezuelan any time or any right towards permanent residency or citizenship in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
La pregunta fue que si el gobierno tiene algún tipo de plan con respecto a la situación de Venezuela para dar residencia permanente. Y la respuesta fue no en estos momentos. No podemos ver el futuro. La política se mantiene en que es un gesto humanitario para legalizar los que en 2019 se registraron, para reducir las actividades criminales. Y en este momento, pues, quiero recordarles que el proceso de registro no le da ni tiempo ni ciudadanía al venezolano.
All right.
Whitfield,
you have another question?
Yes. Fishermen, this is a bit off topic, but fishermen have been reaching out to me over time. They have three primary concerns. One, they are calling for increased patrols by the Coast Guard, because when they are out at sea and they call for assistance, the Coast Guard is usually tardy in coming, if at all. So they're asking for more frequent patrols, one. Two, they're asking for better communications coverage, because they're saying when they go out to sea, once they go beyond a certain point, they lose coverage from Trinidad and Tobago. However, they are able to make contact with Grenada, but they are still in local waters. So they are suggesting maybe having additional transmission sites on island to aid in that regard. And finally, as an appendage to that, whether some mechanism can be put in place so that when they radio for help, the call would come to the Coast Guard base in Scarborough rather than going through Stobers Bay, because in such circumstances, time is of the essence, and the time it takes to transmit the information from Stobers Bay back to Tobago and then to have a response, that could entail the loss of life. So those are three recommendations that they're asking for. I don't know if the minister can respond to those, please.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. I mean, the first thing is, as we've told fishermen before you set out to sea, tell the authorities, in this case it would be the Coast Guard, where you're looking to head to. With respect to the last recommendation the middle recommendation that you have better cell coverage, obviously that's an impossibility. But again, what we encourage fishermen to do is you could look into the purchase of, for example, satellite phones, because satellite phones would give you coverage when you're outside there, as well as, again, notify persons where you are. Also, we have been encouraging the use of GPS. If you put GPS in your boats, then we will be able to pick you up wherever you are. With respect to the first part of that question, understand that out in that wide, vast expanse of sea, it is not as simple as it is on land, where you could send a patrol car right there. I mean, it is a massive expanse of sea, so it will take our Coast Guard assets some time to get to you when you're outside there, which is why we recommend, when you're going out to fish, just kind of give the authorities an idea of where you will be, etc. And then if there's distress, the authorities would be able to get to you quicker than searching the wide expanse of sea that is the ocean.
Right. Aracelys, you don't have to go ahead and you don't have to realize it to me. Somebody asked, I think this is a good question. what should people who have been called and still have not, they did not get the 2019 registration receipt?
The receipt.
Yes.
The receipt, not the card.
Not the card.
All right. Well, as I say, if you were registered in that 2019 exercise, and I asked that specific question, God, when I met with immigration,
right,
you are in the system. So once you come now to re-register, you will be in the system. We'll be able to verify that you were originally registered, and this time round you should get your ministerial permit or your card.
La pregunta es, ¿y qué de las personas que se registraron pero ni siquiera recibieron el recibo? Y la respuesta es que una vez que usted se registró en el año 2019, en el proceso de registro, usted sigue en el sistema. Y por tanto, esta es la oportunidad con este nuevo registro para los que ya se registraron de tener la oportunidad y registrarse para obtener su tarjeta.
Right. Before we go to the lines, how many, now, question was asked, how many is the legal and illegal are here right now? Is their count, was a recount done or anything like that? Would you have any idea?
So God, what all we can say as a government is that when we conducted this exercise in 2019, we registered 16,523 persons.
Right.
All right, and that is the government's official number. You hear all sorts of ridiculous propositions by those in opposition. I have heard them literally in one parliamentary sitting go from 20,000 to 40,000 to 100,000, etc. I saw the most ridiculous proposition, but not surprising, by the opposition the other day that Young must verify that they're not 100,000 Venezuelans here. Our official number is 16,000. Obviously, we recognize, because our heads aren't buried in the sand, that there are going to be more than 16,500 Venezuelans here. We have picked up illegal Venezuelans. We've picked up, look, one of the questions we were asked a short while ago is, my wife is down at the heliport. How could I get my wife? The only way your wife would be at the heliport is she came across into Trinidad within recent times illegally, and we were able to intercept and hold her, and now the laws of Trinidad and Tobago apply.
Question. Nice. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Was another. Sorry. Right, I just want to express a few words of commendation to this book. Because from my observation, initially, this program was to address substance abuse, drug addiction, and so on. We have gone way beyond to deal with not just societal ills, but current issues, current affairs. You know, and I am really, really satisfied with what I'm hearing this evening on this program. I pray God's continued blessings on you all in this endeavor.
All right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'd like to join you there, and as we used to say in court, I adopt your submissions, because I'd like to take the opportunity to thank and personally endorse, as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, the phenomenal work Garth and Natasha are doing. I mean, I have observed them since I've become Minister of National Security, just over 2.5 years. I mean, I remember, I don't know if Garth remembers, the first time he approached me, it was at I stopped by a food store, remember that? On the main road, I'd stopped to buy a newspaper on a Sunday morning, and
lo and behold.
And that was it. He said, look, I am Garth, and correct. And so well done, huh? Because this, what you all are doing is a phenomenal exercise, and I am pleased that the Ministry of National Security is a partner with you all, and I give you all the assurance that I will continue as the Minister of National Security to push for you all to continue to be part of the family of national security, because it's a very important outlet and it's a very important point of contact to the population. So, caller, thank you very much and well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Well
Thank you. Hello, good evening. Hello.
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 Yes, quickly.
Hey, I want to make a question. Yo quiero hacerle una pregunta.
Adelante.
Si yo actualicé mis datos en noviembre del año pasado, que me llamaron para que fuera a actualizar los datos, ¿tengo que actualizarlo otra vez en marzo?
Sí.
Sí. Okay.
Usted tiene, todas las personas tienen que volver a actualizar todos sus datos de nuevo.
Está bien, gracias. Chao, pues.
Chao. Question was, does he renewed his information in November? Does he have to do it again now in March? And the answer is yes.
All right.
Hola. Hello.
Buenas tardes.
Aló.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, ¿cómo está? Tengo una pregunta para el ministro, por favor.
Sí, adelante.
Ok, mi pregunta es la siguiente. Luego de que uno labora en una empresa cierto tiempo, vamos a poner un año, ¿verdad? Y luego uno es despedido de esa empresa, ¿no le toca a uno compensar por ese año de servicio?
My question is, after having working for a company about 1 year and one is fired, is there any compensation?
No. Unfortunately not.
No, no hay compensación. Sin embargo, usted puede ir a la Inspectoría de Trabajo. Yo acabo de dar la información con cualquier situación que tenga con respecto a trabajo. Usted puede ir a la Inspectoría. Es 299
0300.
0300. Ese es el número y la opción es 3. Opción 3. Usted puede llamar y hablar sobre su situación laboral ahí.
Hello, good evening. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, but can't talk Spanish, so
Come on.
Oh, go ahead, try a thing.
Mr. Young,
Yes,
special
sir.
evening
Good
to you.
evening.
I see you have been graded by your boss as Gary Sobers. That's a big shoes to follow, eh?
Indeed.
Do you have a question for the minister?
In retrospect, the question now, in retrospect, Mr. Young, you and your cabinet, you don't think you all could have handled the situation less lenient with this Venezuelan scenario? I'll give 2 examples. When things were nice and we used to go on fish long sea grass in our waters, they would take away our boats in our waters and put us in jail. Right? That is number 1.
Kola, yeah, but this evening we're dealing with another issue, which is the registration of Venezuelan nationals living here. So let's stick with that now. We don't want to go off topic, right? Thank you very much for your understanding. Hello, good evening.
Aló, buenas noches.
Good evening.
Buenas noches.
Mi amor, una pregunta hacia el ministro, por favor.
Sí, adelante.
Quiero saber qué pasaría con las personas que están registradas, se han traído a su familia de Venezuela en parte ilegal.
Good question. The question is for Minister. What would happen to those persons who would have legally registered and would have brought in their families illegally?
Sorry, repeat the question. I was just distracted by a message here on my phone.
What would happen to those persons who are legally registered, they have their registration card, and would have brought in their families illegally?
Okay, so this is one of the dilemmas that we face, all right? So we've made it very, very clear that the laws of Trinidad and Tobago continue to be applicable. Not only is that illegal, the borders are closed, so it means they would have come across whilst the borders were closed, so that's the breaking of one law. They would have left Venezuelan borders which are closed, that's the breaking of another law. Venezuelans are allowed to apply to come to Trinidad and Tobago, that is the system that we introduced. Every Venezuelan who wants to come to Trinidad and Tobago can apply for a visa. That hasn't gone away. So in a situation such as what you've just described there, unfortunately the family members are illegal and they cannot be registered because this is a re-registration exercise and they can be deported.
Yes, Minister, but the question is what would happen to the legal person who would have...
Well, the legal person, I mean, putting on a legal hat here, the legal person may have aided and abetted in a criminal act because it is a criminal act to come across the border without permission. It is also a criminal act to enter Trinidad and Tobago without a visa. So that person now is in potential jeopardy.
La pregunta era ¿qué pasaría con las personas que están legalmente registrados que traen a su familia de manera ilegal? Y la respuesta es, esto es uno de los dilemas que enfrentamos. La ley es que tanto la frontera de Venezuela y la frontera de Trinidad están cerrados. O sea que una vez que se vienen de Venezuela, ya violan una ley, entran a Trinidad, esa es otra ley. Los venezolanos tienen el derecho de solicitar una visa. Los venezolanos que quieren venir a Trinidad pueden solicitar la visa. O sea que me estás diciendo, esas personas que han llegado, la familia, están de manera ilegal. Y, por supuesto, las leyes se le aplican a ellos. La persona que está legal, que tiene su tarjeta de registro y trae a su familia de manera ilegal, pues esa persona también está ayudando, forma parte de ayudar a una persona a cometer un acto criminal. Y eso también es una ofensa, y ellos también estarían en problemas.
Hello.
Good evening.
Pleasant good night.
Good night.
Honorable Minister, pleasant good night. My name is Sean Smart, a former member of Defense Force. Right?
Good night.
What I want to highlight, even though the Venezuelan issue is very important and is critical, I understand that. But bear me a minute, please. The men in prison, the sick board, sir. You have prisoners like Neville Glord, Vernon Trotman, a number of men who have been inside of there for over 30 years, and the board has not sit as yet.
All right, Mr. Smart, let me tell you. First of all, I have asked for legislation to be drafted for us to have a parole system, and that is something I hope to introduce under my tenure, and to get the government to agree to not only policy but the introduction of that law. With respect to the Mercy Committee, which is what I assume you're talking about, the Mercy Committee has sat. There's been some difficulty with Mercy Committee sittings to hear, and the Mercy Committee is the advisory board that then advises Her Excellency the President with respect to sentences. There has been some difficulty, not only because of COVID within recent times, but as I've said before, the Privy Council came down with a decision now that introduces that the prisoner has to be given all documentation, given a right to hearing, etc. And to tell you how ridiculous that is, we had a Mercy Committee sitting where we had agreed, I think, about eight inmates should be released, and most not even on conditions, then to be advised by the lawyers, because they weren't allowed a hearing, because they weren't there present before us, given all the documentation, it couldn't be carried out. And I remarked, and I'm a lawyer, I remarked, that is the most ridiculous proposition I've ever heard, because I want to know which of the 8 would tell us that they want to remain in prison.
Correct, yeah.
All right, so I am working on that. I'm hoping that we will find a way to have Mercy Committee sittings in the circumstances where you literally have to have hearings, etc., and we are dealing with COVID.
622 do you need a to get the registration card to get married? Somebody's asking.
No, your passport has to be valid to get married.
So, just let
Hi,
them know
good
that.
evening.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question for the minister.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Honorable Minister.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, please, my name is Paul Godwin.
Hi, Paul.
I have a little challenge here. I'm calling concerning on a friend who came into this country 2013. He overstayed. He had a landing stamp on his passport, and he overstayed because he lost his passport, and he went to immigration to tell them he finally found his passport, and he missed his appointment date, and he was detained. And after which he was placed on order of supervision, and after which he was granted a re-entering visa. He went out. On his returning, he was rearrested at the airport and was put to detention center. He's still up to there till today. 8 good years. 8 good years. And we have called a lawyer since 5 years. The lawyer is saying he's filing a case, and he's writing to the immigration, and the immigration goes back and was saying that the guy had to pay $190,000 TT dollars. I don't know how somebody who has been incarcerated for 8 good years can pay $190 TT dollars for him to be sent home.
Since 2000.
So please, Minister, we really need your assistance if you can help us on this matter. Please.
Okay,
thanks very much for your
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm hoping they took note of it. I can't say much more because I wouldn't want to prejudice the situation, because it may very well be that I would have to take a decision in those circumstances.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Minister, I have a child who was registered when he was a minor. Now he is an adult. What do I do in this case?
Okay, so that is an excellent question, because that's one of the things I wanted to touch on, and I'll touch on at the press conference sometime this week. Those who registered in 2019 and their children were minors, if they've now become adults and they're now over 18, in this case I think we were using the age of 16, they will get their own registration card now, right? So you have to come back and re-register. As I said repeatedly throughout this interview here this evening, we would have all of the information on our records.
Para la persona que preguntó que tiene un hijo que se registró cuando era menor y ahora es mayor de edad, algunos de los hijos de los venezolanos se registraron cuando tenían 16 años, ahora son mayores de edad, ellos también tendrán la oportunidad de volverse a registrar y obtener esta vez su propia tarjeta de registro. Una cuestión.
Hola.
Buenas tardes.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Estamos en el aire?
Sí.
Sí.
Mire, bueno, yo tengo dos preguntas que hacerle. Mi nombre es Ali Camacho. Soy miembro de Amnistía Internacional de Canadá y defensora de los derechos humanos en Canadá. Por tanto, vivo acá en Canadá. Yo tengo unas preguntas que hacerles al señor ministro. ¿Por qué no se hace una regulación migratoria o una modificación de la ley de migración, como mismo se hizo en Costa Rica y en Perú, donde se le da una condición complementaria a los refugiados y esto les permite trabajar, ya que la ACNUR no le da ningún tipo de ayuda y le da una solución de estar pidiendo constantemente ayuda y que no son elegibles porque dice que es solo para personas vulnerables? Y yo no entiendo una persona que no tiene derecho a tener un permiso de trabajo, ¿cómo se va a mantener? ¿Cómo va a subsistir? Por otro lado, mi otra pregunta es, ¿hay alguna preferencia para algún tipo de nacionalidades? Porque nada más que escucho hablar, no tengo nada en contra de los venezolanos, son personas excelentes y tengo muy buenas relaciones, pero siento que se enfocan mucho sobre los venezolanos.
Adelante. ¿Aló?
Ya le hice. ¿Hello? ¿Hello?
Sí,
Okay.
puedes escuchar la respuesta en la radio. Aracelys.
Okay, so I didn't hear all clearly, but more or less, this is Ms. Camacho is asking that the situation with the migrants under the UNHCR system, these persons are not allowed to work. So she's asking whether, just as they did in Costa Rica and I think in Peru, if Trinidad and Tobago can modify their immigration law to help these persons to be able to work, because when they go to the UNHCR does not help them, and the UNHCR only say that they can only help the most vulnerable, and these people keep going and asking for help. What they need is a way that they will be able to work. And I couldn't hear the also this amnesty, which has been extended to the Venezuelans, and I have nothing against them. I respect them, but can this amnesty be also allowed to other nationalities?
Okay, so I touched on that earlier in this evening's program, that at this stage what we're dealing with is the Venezuelan situation, and the UNHCR registration is something completely different and separate. And as a government, we've said repeatedly, the UNHCR does not give persons specific rights. That is why we had this Venezuelan registration system in 2019, when we realized what was going on, to provide the opportunity for those who came forward and registered there and then. And that remains our policy at this stage. but we are always cognizant of what is going on, and I've heard what has been said.
Ya yo había hablado con respecto a esto más temprano. En esta etapa solamente estamos atendiendo a los venezolanos. Entendemos que el ACNUR, aunque el sistema del ACNUR, los que están registrados bajo el sistema del ACNUR, eso es un sistema completamente diferente. El gobierno se había dado cuenta que el ACNUR no puede dar de ciertos derechos a los migrantes, y por eso es que nosotros decidimos realizar el proceso de registro en 2019. Sin embargo, siempre estamos pendientes de lo que está sucediendo, y hemos escuchado lo que usted ha dicho.
All right. We have to wrap up now. Aracelys, why do you prepare to give the important information, like where, what time and date? Minister, is there a possibility, because we have lots of questions, and is there a possibility that we can probably direct people to where they can get these questions answered, or somebody at the ministry?
I mean, really, I assume the majority of the questions are immigration related. So there's no way I can sit here and promise any open line of ask questions and they will be answered, because that will just be an administrative nightmare. But maybe what you all can do is take a look at it. Right. Some of the questions that you think, a handful of questions that you think, look, these are repeat questions, you're seeing the same type of question asked. Right. Send it to us, and let's see what we can do. Page. Yeah, and then we'll find some way to respond.
I'll let them know that.
La pregunta era, todavía quedan muchas preguntas por contestar y ya casi estamos al final del programa. Que si el ministro podía poner disponible algún tipo de línea, un sistema donde uno puede llamar, escribir, hacer las preguntas. La respuesta fue que la mayoría de estas preguntas serían ya preguntas de inmigración, y sería no sabio de él de abrir una línea para solamente eso. Eso sería una pesadilla. Sin embargo, las preguntas que se han hecho aquí y no se fueron preguntadas, el programa de Garth y Natasha a Dependency lo tomarán en cuenta y se lo enviarán al ministro para una posterior respuesta.
Right.
And the minister did say that he will have a press conference next week.
Correct.
And we would like to recommend that it be bilingual, sir. And we are offering up Aracelys for that purpose, because I think it really needs to be communicated clearly to this population who is really eager to do the right thing and to get re-registered.
That's an excellent suggestion.
El ministro también hará una rueda de prensa la próxima semana, y el programa de Garth y Natasha acaban de sugerir que sea un programa bilingüe para que la información llegue a las personas, a las partes interesadas. El ministro informó que es una excelente idea.
Okay, so just let them know the press conference. Again, Minister, the press conference will be on Wednesday.
I didn't say it. I said it'll be sometime during the course of
the registration process starts on the 6th of March.
No, correct.
Sorry.
No, the 7th.
The 8th. Sorry, the 8th of March to the 26th of
Mm-hmm.
March. And you are to download the registration form 17A from the ministry's website, complete it, and drop it into the 3 locations that they have identified. Aracelys.
Entonces, para recordarles el nuevo proceso de registro para las personas que ya se registraron del 8 al 26 de marzo, van a bajar la planilla, la 17A, que estará disponible durante el transcurso de esta semana, llenarla, sellarla en un sobre y entregarla en algunos de los 3 sitios de migración ya mencionados.
All right. So,
thank you again, Minister, for your taking some time out your Sunday evening to be here with us to inform the nation, the Venezuelan population, as well as our citizens, about what is happening with the re-registration process. It's very important.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for your work and your continued effort.
Okay, and remember, folks, this information, Aracelys will get the questions from Facebook, and as the minister said, we'll send to the ministry. Ministry will respond, and Aracelys will respond on Facebook as well.
Y las preguntas que no fueron contestadas, la intérprete entonces tomará las preguntas del Facebook, se lo enviará a este programa, I Am Dependency, el programa se lo enviará al ministro y cuando tengamos la respuesta los contestaré también en el Facebook.
Minister, thank you very much. As
Thank
usual.
you.
Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Yes, I
Thanks again, Minister, and thank you, everybody. Have a good week and buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Bye bye.
Buenas noches.
Thank you all very much.
My picture.